This week, Jaguar boss Nick Shayler tells us the real reasons why they're calling their new baby the S-Type. Rutherford drives a Starship Enterprise. And we have a detailed report on the new Astra.
The car to be seen in these days seems to be an SUV, sports utility vehicle. You see them everywhere. Toyota's RAV4, the Honda CR-V, the Subaru Forester. More fashion statement than serious. Not as huge or as expensive as the rugged off-roaders. Just fun, flirty things that look the business. The problem comes when you try to do the business in them. Off-road? Forget it. Just imagine if some clever manufacturer could combine that funky styling, practicality with genuine off-road ability and wrap it up all in one neat little package. What, like this you mean? This is the Land Rover Freelander. This is the rather sensible 5-door station wagon, but there's also a particularly gorgeous 3-door version that comes with a removable hardtop, or would you believe, a convertible option. Under the bonnet you can choose from a 2-litre diesel that's used in the Rover 6 and 800, or this 1.8-litre petrol that you'll find powering the MGF. And once you've decided whether to go for the 3 or the 5-door, whether you want the soft or the hard top, you've chosen the engine you want, and you've picked one of the 14 colours or 14 interiors, then your problems have only just begun. Accessorise! You know how accessories finish off a look so well. Well, Land Rover have produced over 100 extra items specially designed for Freelander, so you can personalise it to suit your own tastes. A kind of expensive Meccano kit for grown-up boys and girls. Once your decision's made, even if you decide just to go for the basic model, the Freelander really does turn heads. And it's not just out of curiosity to see what Land Rover's new baby looks like. It stands out on the road for all the right reasons. It's macho looking with bulges in all the right places, but it's not too large or bulky looking. In fact, it's actually deceptively small because the Discovery really isn't that much larger. Although it's an all-new vehicle, you know instantly what family the Freelander is from. And just in case you're in any doubt about this vehicle's heritage, then there are plenty of logos around to remind you. Once inside the Freelander, you get a very pleasant surprise. You're greeted by something that seems to have been designed instead of stuck in as a bit of an afterthought. The Freelander design team have obviously realised that as drivers actually spend more time looking at the interior of a vehicle than we do the exterior. But my advice, if you're looking to make a real style statement, is to go for the Freelander 3-door. It has a wonderful interior. Exposed rivets and colour-coded paintwork everywhere. Very industrial, very 90s. Practicality hasn't been forgotten either. There are cubby holes, map nets and pockets everywhere. There's even a lockable hidey hole under the floor in the back, and there's also a power socket. Both driver and passengers have plenty of room, and although the boot isn't huge, folding down the split rear seats is an absolute breeze. See, nothing to it, and it gives you loads more space. One very useful feature is the electronically operated window on the tailgate. What will they think of next? So it's practical, and I'm sure you'll agree it's perfect for posing in. But let's get back to performance. The first thing you notice is that the Freelander really does feel like a car. You could easily be in the Rover 600, but that's not a bad thing. What it means is that you instantly feel at home behind the wheel. Everything feels familiar, you're just a bit higher up than normal. Around town the visibility really is excellent and the power steering makes it extremely easy to park. Out on the open road it feels solid. It's a comfortable ride rather than a sporty ride because of the softer suspension, but the steering is direct and there's just a hint of body roll on these country roads. The performance you'll get from this 1.8 litre petrol engine isn't going to set you on fire, but having said that, it is quite lively. Drive the Freelander in a relaxed, easy-going way, and it won't disappoint you. Oh, I nearly forgot. What about the rough stuff? As they say, here's one I made earlier. As you can see, Daddy Discovery can be very proud of baby Freelander's off-road prowess. Particularly if you get a little optional extra fitted hill descent control. A clever little device that when engaged controls the anti-lock brakes, limiting your speed to 5.6 miles per hour. And if it senses a particularly nasty bit coming up, that speed slows down even more to 4.4 miles per hour. This clever gizmo, together with electronic traction control, a tail shaft with a viscous coupling and front and rear diffs with slightly different gearing mean that if you want to go mud plugging, the Freelander will be well up for it. This isn't the cheapest, the fastest or the best equipped vehicle in its class, but the Freelander offers by far the best overall package. First of all, it catches your eye and then it delivers the goods. Nobody could accuse the Freelander of making promises it can't live up to. If only everything in life were like that.
Everyone's talking about the new baby Jag, the S-Type. To find out the reasons behind the name and how it should fare in the market, Jaguar boss Nick Shayler talks exclusively to Motor Week.
Well, S-Type really takes over from the last of the Mark IIs, because the Mark II, in its final guise, if you will, when independent rear suspension was put on the car and a bigger boot, new interior, it was called the S-Type by Sir William Lyons back in 1962. And we rather liked that name, that designation. So that's why we picked it. It's a name that's obviously associated with Jaguar for a long, long time. We've used S, XJS of course, and we've used S for some of our sports saloons, but S-Type is going back to our roots and Sir William's roots.
Can you give us any predictions at this stage, although we haven't seen the car yet, of how it's going to fare in the marketplace?
We think very well. All of our research says this is a car that really knocks people out as soon as they see it. They like the look of the car. Nobody's seen the performance statistics yet, apart of course from us who are developing the car. The performance is really superb. It really is a sports saloon and recreates that segment which Jaguar first created in the late 50s and we then stepped away from. And so we're coming back home, and coming back home into a segment which we created, with a name that we created, with all of the heritage that Jaguar has, but totally modern, totally technologically up to date, and with a great powertrain.
Well, we all know about Kia of Korea. They've had some terrible financial problems lately. It seems the Korean government have bailed them out and have given them a financial hand. It would be nice if the British government did that for Rolls-Royce, wouldn't it? But I digress. Of course, we all know that Kia are famous for their small cars like the Little Pride, the Mentor, the Sportage. What about this? The new luxury limo from Kia. It obviously is designed to compete with things like the Jaguar, Mercedes, BMW. And I've got to say, it's a very, very plush, comfortable, refined car too. It's got a 3.6 litre V6 engine. It's called the Enterprise. A little bit tacky, I'd say, particularly this horrible gold here on the badge on the bonnet. But it's not really the outside of this car that should interest you. It's what's going on the inside. This is the ultimate car, and I mean the ultimate car for the chauffeur-driven company executive, company chairman. The fact that the thing is called the Enterprise CEO, Chief Executive Officer maybe, I think that says it all. It's the sort of car that, you know, well, even prime ministers and presidents might want to travel in. Now, you might think that's a bit over the top because surely they'd want us to travel in the style of a Mercedes or Jaguar, but it's not so much the name of this car or the technical abilities of the car, it's the creature comforts. For example, we have here a little, what looks like just a simple armrest. Of course, your mobile phone goes in there. Got a socket there where you can plug your mobile phone in, all sorts of air conditioning controls down here. But most important of all, we've got seat adjustments here. We've got a temperature control, we've got vent control, we've got a little digital readout telling us what radio station we're listening to. We've got an on-off switch, so if your chauffeur's got something on the radio you don't like, you can actually just switch the thing off or change it. You can even watch the television from back here. As I'm sitting here, although the TV is right there in the center console, I can see it quite clearly. But this is the best bit. This seat, apart from being fully adjustable so you can adjust the rake and all sorts of other things on the seat, actually has a built-in vibration system which gives you a back massage as you're driving along. There's also these lovely little lights up here, so if you're reading or whatever on your way home from the board meeting or the government meeting, you've got everything you need. Of course, the obligatory drinks holders there for the G&T on the way home. Who needs a Rolls Royce? But how about that? There can't be another car in the world that offers a hole in the passenger seat, the front passenger seat, where the rear seat passenger, the most important rear seat passenger, can put his feet through. It's got this nice leg rest here, so you've got some sort of lumbar support. You've got your vibrating seat for your butt, and I've got to tell you, this must be the most comfortable ride in the world.
Join us after the break for a full review of the Vauxhall Astra, only on Motor Week. It's been announced that the Daihatsu Sirion, launched at Geneva, will reach Britain in June. The Sirion, the production version of the NCX concept car we first saw at Frankfurt and Tokyo last year, will have a 1-litre engine and a claimed 60 miles per gallon. The RAC have published figures that point to 46% of front seat fatalities in car accidents are caused by rear seat passengers not wearing seat belts. Only 49% of adults bother to wear seat belts in the back of cars, even though it is a legal requirement. During a frontal impact, these passengers are thrown forward into those in the front, causing serious injuries or death. The RAC have launched a 10 seconds campaign. As the slogan suggests, taking 10 seconds to buckle up can save lives.
Now, this is going to be a big year for Vauxhall. It has to be with the launch of the new Astra. General Motors chairman Jack Smith has already admitted that he's taken his eye off the ball in terms of the European market, so the Astra really is a crucial car for them. We got our first look at it about a year ago, and now we get a chance to see it in the flesh and to drive it here in Austria. And this is it. What do you think of it? I quite like the look of it. Maybe it looks like a mini Vectra, but it has a new chassis, new floor pan, new suspension and a new interior. It is an all-new car.
Now the Focus is still some months away. VW are having problems delivering the Golf, so perhaps this is Vauxhall's big opportunity to get the Astra selling in the marketplace.
Now on the outside, I like the design. All the panels seem to fit very well, and quality has certainly been paramount in the making of this new car. It has a butch, slightly aggressive stance to it, but still unmistakably an Astra. It'll come in a choice of 3-door, a 5-door, there's an Estate, and a mini MPV a la the Renault Scenic. They're calling it the Zafira, should be with us in about a year's time.
There are 4 petrol engines, a 1.2, 1.4, a 1.6 and a 1.8, plus 2 diesels, a 1.7 and a 2 litre. And also to follow quite shortly will be 2 hot versions, one perhaps even carrying the Lotus badge, due respect to the work that Lotus engineers have put into the handling of the new Astra. Plus there'll be a cabriolet even further down the line. It wouldn't have taken much to make the Astra handle, ride and steer better, plus the ability to stop quickly rather than at its previous leisurely pace. Now the platform is totally new and will enable the Astra to come in a variety of body styles over the years to come. It has a Hydroform aluminium subframe on which the front suspension is mounted, the coil springs, struts, dampers and anti-roll bar. Plus the body shell is 80% stiffer than before, which meant that the engineers could do away with a rear anti-roll bar. So, the exterior of the new Astra we like, but step inside the cabin and the interior and be positively underwhelmed. Well, it's not quite as bad as all that. Some of the early reports on this car were positively scathing about the interior, but we're not so sure. It's not very inspiring, but everything is good and solid. All the switchgear seems to work well and feels good. The seats are comfortable, there's plenty of space. There's some rather garish seat designs, which I wouldn't choose, but you might want them. And also, maybe it's just lacking in that certain je ne sais quoi. It needs a bit of spice. So much time was spent on the exterior that maybe the interior was forgotten about. Now this new Astra drives and handles like what it is, a new car of course. This 1.8 that I'm driving at the moment is a very free revving car. You put your foot down and it goes quite quickly, goes very nicely, handles well. And General Motors went right back to the drawing board with a fresh piece of paper for this car. That meant a new chassis, new floor pan, revised engines and a new suspension as well, which was tuned in the end by their colleagues at Lotus, with particular preference made to the British style of roads, and certainly the new Astra handles and drives like no Vauxhall before. Now the market sector that the new Astra is in is surely one of the most competitive. There's the Peugeot 306, the Citroën Zara, and of course now VW's new Golf, there's the Escort and its replacement, the Focus. Now probably up until a few weeks ago, Vauxhall chiefs were very happy with the new Astra. That was until the Geneva Motor Show, when all that changed and Ford unveiled their new Focus and quite literally pulled the rug out from underneath its rivals. Vauxhall and VW chiefs were probably stood there quaking in their pinstripe suits and lederhosen as they looked at the radical new Focus, and it almost makes the new Golf and the new Astra look rather ordinary. So, have Vauxhall succeeded with the new Astra? Well, yes and no. On the negative side must be that cabin and the interior, and rumours are that a new cabin and interior are already being worked on and could be in the car in about a year or so's time. And like for like, say up against the Golf, the Astra's cabin is no match for it, and it's no cheap car either. They're very similarly priced. On the plus side though, you have to say the way it looks and the way it handles makes up for it. The engines are responsive, nimble and economical. So what do? Do you wait over a year for the new Focus? Do you wait a few months for the Golf, or do you buy an Astra now? Well, it's your money, it's your decision. Me, I think I'd maybe just hang on a little and see how things go. I'm sitting on the fence, I know, but make no mistake about it, this isn't a bad car. Now what we have here is the real fun part of driving the new Astra. Deep in the heart of Austria, Vauxhall have closed off an airfield for us and set up a special course to test out the dynamic capabilities of the Astra. There's a slalom course, there's a high-speed brake test, and there's of course the good old elk test that caught out the Mercedes A-Class so badly. Hopefully it won't do the same with the new Astra, I'm sure it won't. Let's go and try, shall we? So first of all, there's this slalom test. You've got to stay in the cones, of course, not knocking any of the cones off. I'm taking it rather gently just at the moment, just to get used to it, unlike the previous guy who took it very, very fast. Now we're into the slalom course, and this is in and out of these all the time, right the way through. And we're heading now towards the brake test. We've got to try and hit 100 kilometers an hour before stamping on the brakes at this particular point here. And it seems to do the job very nicely indeed. Down to the end, turning it round. Back up, there's a recommended speed of 60 kilometers an hour into this. This is the good old-fashioned elk test. Whoop. Took a few cones with me along the way there, I'm afraid. A lane change. And finally down to the last corner. Round we go, hard on the brakes in here. Taking it fairly gently back round to the end.
Sold over 1.5 million Astras to date, and the car's never out of the top 10 bestsellers list. Now this car represents a £1.5 billion investment, and we're very confident that it's going to become a #1 bestseller.
Reports coming up in future editions of Motor Week. The new Ford Focus, the new A-Class, the new Isuzu Trooper, the new Nissan Patrol, the new Ford Kuga, Ginny Buckley on long-term tests, Mike Rutherford on evasive driving, Howard Stapleford on automotive technology, Chris Goffey on used bargains. Reports detailed and a depth only to be found on the only specialist topical motoring TV program that's on air every week of the year, Motor Week.